The Gowanus is just over a mile long, and it was a marsh. And you can see a little bit of that in the way it's laid out. This stuff is coal tar, and it's coming up from the sediment and coming out of the banks where there were manufactured gas plants. And that's the reason the EPA has designated this a Superfund site. The underlying job is always the traditional pollution control function of Riverkeeper. You go, you look, you're seen looking, which is a deterrent, and you might catch a polluter. Your biggest use to society is just being omnipresent, being on patrol. Riverkeeper was started by a bunch of Hudson River fishermen who were pissed off that pollution was going into the river that they love.
The environment was their backyard. It was the bathing beaches and the swimming holes and the fishing holes of the Hudson River. And they saw their livelihoods being destroyed, the waterways that they relied on for food, for sustenance, and also for their salaries. All of these things were being stolen from them by large corporate entities over whom they had no control. They got together in an American Legion Hall in March of 1966. A man stood up whose name was Robert Boyle. 2 years before, he had written an article about angling in the Hudson for Sports Illustrated, and in researching that article, he had come across this ancient navigational statute called the 1888 Rivers and Harbors Act, and that statute said that it was illegal to pollute any waterway in the United States. You had to pay a big penalty if you got caught. But also there was a bounty provision that said that anybody who turns in the polluter gets to keep half the fine. And he said to them, we shouldn't be talking about breaking the law, we should be talking about enforcing it. Our first big case on the Hudson River was against the Exxon Corporation for actually stealing water from the Hudson. Exxon was sending 700-foot tankers up the river from its refinery in Aruba off the coast of Venezuela. And when John Cronin, who was the Riverkeeper, went to Aruba, he went to the hotel manager when he first checked in, and he said, have you ever heard of the Hudson River? And the manager said, the Hudson River? You want to see the Hudson River? And he pointed at the swimming pool and he said, that's the Hudson River. We got international headlines for busing Exxon. We stopped them from doing it. We collected a huge penalty. We were getting a lot of attention and people started calling us. After about 2 or 3 years, we had a dozen working riverkeepers or keepers all across the country, and we decided it was time to start an alliance. What does it mean to be a riverkeeper? The most important things were you have to have a boat, you have to have a full-time paid waterkeeper, and you have to be willing to go to war to fight for your local waterway. And the Hudson Riverkeeper is really the flagship organization.
When we found out that Governor Andrew Cuomo was going to say no to hydrofracking, that proved that the spirit that started Riverkeeper in 1966, community-based environmentalism, that was alive and well.
What we were able to do is to persuade political leaders in New York State that they had an obligation to take the long view and not just take the quick cash. You know, there are long-term costs to this that make that quick cash not so attractive.
So when we saw Governor Cuomo say no to fracking, we realized that anything is possible. And there is no project that Riverkeeper is more invested in than closing Indian Point.
Riverkeeper has taken the lead in the fight to close the Indian Point power plant. We've been the most visible and vocal leader in that fight. This plant is the oldest operating nuclear power plant in the country. It has the most safety violations. It has a crumbling infrastructure. This is an urgency.
When you hear all the problems with Indian Point, you realize that its time has come and passed, that it's holding us back from clean, sustainable, safe energy.
This idea that an investment in our environment is a diminishment of our wealth it's a false notion. An investment in the environment is an investment in infrastructure. It's an investment you have to make if you want to ensure the economic vitality of our generation and future generations.
It's important to remember that here we are in this beautiful area, farmland over there, a wildlife sanctuary up there, very low density housing over here. You have to keep in mind that is the largest Superfund site in the United States, thanks to GE. So we're going to have to figure out how we can have our worlds and our lives and have living rivers next to us. And we haven't achieved that yet. So there's a great need to continue working.
We decided to convene this meeting because we from Riverkeeper, Guardians of Flushing Bay, and the Swim Coalition, we wanted to meet the community, and we also wanted the community to meet us and hear about the work that we're doing from the environmental world.
People see that they can make a difference. They see people winning fights that they were told they were going to lose, and they come to the work, and they're excited about it, and they say to Riverkeeper, can we do that with you? Not can you do that for us, but can we do that with you?
So we're about to see a project called the Living Dock, and Newtown Creek Alliance built it this past year. To me, one of the interesting things is as the creek actually does get cleaner gradually, like the rest of New York Harbor, we're seeing more animals come back. And so the dock was built as a way to actually document that stuff coming back and track the different species.
There was a tank farm here, meaning a petroleum facility, and that was taken away, and now the property's unused. You can see the marsh trying to rebuild itself. And in the summer, we'll see egret, beautiful white egret. Nature is showing you that if you take your foot off its neck, it will come back. And this is hopeful for me, very hopeful. So we've had Willis aboard, we've had Corinne aboard, we've had a city official aboard. You know, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to network and multiply outcomes by multiplying partners. Things have gotten better. Things have gotten better. And citizen patrols, citizen advocacy really is the only way out of the dirty past to a hopeful future. There's no other way. All these problems will succumb to public grassroots pressure. That's what I would say. Get involved, and get involved. We're not letting up. We're not going to go away. You know, EPA officials and DC officials and governors come and go. Riverkeeper's there, and we're not going away.